lost his tail before. Little male yellow-throated plated lizard with an orange throat. So the reason they call them plated lizard is because of the configuration of scales. It's like armor plating. And if you look at the belly, how they almost overlap on the side there. So it makes them sort of more protected. That little flap covers sensitive skin or softer skin for trying to fold it back. You can see, especially there on the armpit, that's softer. So if a snake or something were to grab it, that would be a vulnerable point. So if we have a look, so the specific term given to lizards dropping their tail is called autotomy. And you can see right at that point, because this is dull now, so he's dropped his tail before, right there. That's regrowth. Very cool lizards. They usually have a particular burrow which they will live in for their lifetime, really, and they usually forage around that burrow, not too far from it. So if they're disturbed by a predator, they'll just bolt back to their burrow. Very cool. Check even on the legs, on the back legs, those scales, they fold back and cover the soft skin around the leg. Hence the name plated lizard. There's his eardrum, well, ear hole, should I say. So lizards, unlike snakes, can actually hear audible sounds. Well, a recent study shows that snakes can too. But only specific sounds at specific decibels, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, very, very cool. One of about, I think, 5 different plated lizard species in South Africa. And apart from crocodiles and monitor lizards, the giant plated lizard is the largest lizard in South Africa. They reach a maximum length of around 60-65 centimeters. This is a good average adult size for your yellow-throated plated lizard. Very cool. Nice little spotted or rhombic scarpsteker, very closely related to your grass and whip snakes, grass, sand snakes, whip snakes. These Natal midlands varieties are very plain actually, whereas if you go down to the Western Cape, they're lighter in colour and got a lot more spots, which you can see along the neck there. He's got his little spotties. So these guys are essentially rear fanged. So they've got fangs that sit just under the eye about. Now the name scarpsteker is quite interesting, quite controversial. So back in sort of early pioneer times with agriculture and farming, sort of disease struck at one time and sheep started dying around the kraals or the homesteads. And these guys are often found around homesteads, and when people investigated around their kraals, found these snakes often, and they thought that these guys were the culprits for why the sheep were dying, hence the name scarpsteker. So scarpsteker translated into English means sheep stabber. So that's where they get the name. But these guys are slightly venomous, but less venomous than a bee sting. So they're definitely not gonna kill a sheep, and definitely not gonna do much harm to even a person. Although if they do bite, you might have continued bleeding around the bite site and a bit of swelling and a bit of pain, but that's about it. So this little guy has had a meal recently. You can see how there's a bulge now where I'm holding between my fingers. So he's probably eaten a skink or a small lizard. That's one of their favored prey, because they are, as we've just caught him now moving around, they're active daytime hunters. So very fast moving, very keen eyesight. Yeah, and very cheeky. Ooh, you don't like me. Yeah, it's very cool. So he is a lot more relaxed. So there's 2 species of scarpsteker in South Africa, the spotted and the striped. And they are just opposite ends of the aggression scale. These guys are feisty and will frequently bite. I'm actually very surprised I haven't been bitten yet. Whereas the striped scarpsteker, not found here in KZN, are much more placid. They'll wriggle violently in hand when they're caught, but they won't bite. They very, very rarely ever bite. So yeah, Beautiful spotted scarf sticker. These guys will get to about 60, even 80 centimeters. And as I said, lizards are one of their, oopsie, sorry buddy, come here. Oh, come back. Lizards are one of their favorite prey, but they will eat birds, rodents, and even other snakes. So he's a little guy. Very, very cool. So what's awesome about these guys as well is they're quite unique in the fact that, I don't know if you've ever heard that some pythons, like your African rock python, ball pythons, Burmese pythons, when they lay eggs, they'll wrap around them, coil, and almost protect the eggs. Scarp steekers are one of the only colubrids in South Africa that do the same. They will stay with the eggs until they hatch, and then they'll move off after they've hatched, which is very cool. So it's a very primitive maternal instinct, which is unheard of in snakes. Only really pythons, these guys, king cobras. That's off the top of my head that I know. Awesome. I'll let him be on his way. Luckily the meal is quite far down. If it was more bulgy and further up in the body, I wouldn't have handled him this long, because then at risk of him regurgitating and losing his meal. But it's right in the gut there and it's being digested, so he's safe. Cool. Let him go back into his little grass tussock where we found him. Off you go, little guy. Do your thing. A little brown house snake, feisty little brown house snake. He's just going like the clappers. Fortunately, completely harmless. Got lots of little teeth in their mouth. So brown house snakes probably have to be one of the most abundant snake species in Africa. They occur from Cape Town right the way through. Very feisty. Right the way through up into Saudi Arabia. He's very feisty now, but brown house snakes do calm down very quickly, very easily. And they are, regardless of their colour, one of their most distinguishing features. Just simply a little bit quickly, his head is from the tip of the snout running on top, through the eye almost. Basically on the top of the eye you can see his cream-coloured stripes. One of the most distinguishing features of your brown house snakes. Sorry buddy. This one's relatively recently shed, just because I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up with the camera, but at certain angles you can pick up colours of the rainbow, the iridescence. Very feisty snake. Oh, stunning snakes. This is almost average size, 30 to 40 centimeters. Ooh, my thumb. But they can, especially along the coast, they can reach well over 1.5 meters. Inland, midlands area, like where we are, average size is around 80 centimeters to max meter. Oh, this is probably one of the fastest brown house snakes I've caught in a long time. Just wants to eat me alive. So here we got a little red-lipped or herald snake. Very, very cool little snakes. Also very abundant in southern Africa and further up in Africa, where they're not known as red-lipped or herald snakes, they're known as black temple cat snakes. And further up into Africa that you go, less distinct the red lip is. It's more white. So as well in parts of Zambia and Tanzania, I think they actually also call them white-lipped snakes. But the reason they got the red little lippies on them is because what they'll do when they feel threatened is they actually flatten the lips out, exposing that red. He's kind of doing it now. And that's basically aposematic colouring. So where it's something that's harmless with bright colours pretending to be dangerous. So the reason they also flatten their heads is because it looks more adder-like, which animals will know to be venomous or dangerous. So these guys they are almost sort of specialist amphibian feeders. They love toads and frogs, but they will also eat rodents. And I know of a few reports where they've eaten other snakes, but very, very rare. Their main specialty is amphibians. So very, very cool. Also a back-fanged species. So like the scarpsteker and the wormslang, the twig snake and all that, the fangs sit slightly behind in the mouth, not too far back, just as I say, under the eye. So yeah, it's very, very cool snake. So you can see the very distinct different coloration on the head there, that black, hence the name in East Africa, black templed. Not a very big snake, very rarely ever reaching over a meter. Sort of average maximum size is around 90 centimeters. So this guy's a little guy, he's probably a yearling. Very, very cool though. Yeah, they're not too frequently found in arid areas, rather the wetter eastern half of South Africa, just given their diet, frogs and amphibians, which would need to be around water. So yeah, along with the brown house snake, this is one sort of next on the list where you'd find them in suburban areas, suburban gardens, especially around ponds. Very cool. So, the last kind of green snake that we needed to find in Kwazulu Natal, or at least the lower parts. So this is the Western Natal green snake. So unlike the Eastern Natal that we've shown in previous videos, you can see very distinctive sort of turquoise coloration on the skin there, and the scales. And also the eye is very dark in the Western Natals, whereas there's quite a yellow, a lot of yellow in the Eastern Natal green snake's eyes. But very much like the Philothamnus, he'll also focus. He's not doing it as well though, but yeah, quite aquatic and arboreal as well. So as you can see, we're here on the Mooi River, so find them along the banks hunting frogs. So very active hunters. And this one I can feel has got something in its belly there. So he's probably chowder froggy. And he's focused. It's very cool. It's focused on a lot of things there. Yeah. So one more Philothamnus species in South Africa to tag. That's way up in the north of Kwazulu Natal, basically bordering on well, from about St. Lucia, bordering up into Mozambique. But the Angolan green snakes are very widespread further up in East Africa. These guys are also of the common green snake species we get in South Africa. This is probably the second most abundant after the spotted bush snake. If you look carefully when he flicks his tongue is even blue, very similar blue to the turquoise on his body. It's got like a bluish sheen to it. Very cool. Okay, let her go into her waterside vegetation, let her hunt some more froggies. Plenty common river frogs here as well, so she'll be very, very happy. You go, my girl. Straight into the grass. Right, next species on our list for today. This little guy is a black-headed centipede eater, or a Cape centipede eater. So you can see there why it's called a black-headed centipede eater. So one of two species in South Africa, one of three in Southern Africa. So we've got the Cape, and we've got the reticulated centipede eater, so up in Limpopo area. And into Zimbabwe and Mozambique, you get the black centipede eater, which is almost complete reverse of this. It's got a white collar and a completely black body. But yeah, so these guys are part of the Atractaspidae family, basically. So Natal black snakes, Barbon's burrowing asps, which are venomous species, purple gloss snakes. These guys are mildly venomous, but they've got a very small gape, so they wouldn't be able to do much to a person. But as their name suggests, their favorite prey, centipedes, their venom is quite toxic. So all the Atractaspidae family are pretty much arboreal. So these guys are often found in abandoned termitaria, in rocky outcrops, in rotting logs, things like that. And as I said, their main prey, which they'll be hunting, are centipedes. But it's not the only thing that they'll eat. They also are known to eat spiders and scorpions. And I've personally seen one eating a scorpion. It's pretty impressive. So this is also slightly below average size. This little guy's in the region of about 20 centimeters. average size is more 30 to closer to 40 centimeters, with a maximum of around 60. Very, very cool little snakes. So a typical feature with most of your fossorial snakes, fossorial meaning living underground or burrowing, is they've usually got very tight fitting scale and very, very shiny, because that shiny, tight fitting scale sort of configuration, if I could say, helps them to just glide through soil and things a lot easier. So you can imagine if it had rough scales, it just creates a lot of traction, tension. So yeah, very, very cool little guy. It's a nice warm day, so I'm going to put it back quickly because I don't want it to overheat in my hands. But yeah, Cape Centipede eater, awesome stuff. Not what I was expecting to find. Vibrant blind snake. I did talk about it in one of my previous videos, but he was very small, so I didn't get a good visual of him. As you can see, very big scale on the front of the face here. It's known as the rostral scale. It's very enlarged in blind snakes and thread snakes because of their fossorial habitat or habits, living underground, burrowing through sand. And then his tail is not long and slender like a normal snake. It ends in a point, which he'll use to wedge into the side of a burrow or something and then propel himself along underground. But also in a case like this, where he's attacked by a predator, he'll use it to, if I grab him there, you'll see how, oh, he's not doing it now, but oh, there in my hand, he'll stab me with it like he's pretending to bite. Because the head and tail look so similar, confuses predators because they don't know which side's the head. So he'll stab with the tail. Less likely to die if a predator attacks this side as well than rather than the head. Cool. So these guys love chowing ants and termite eggs and even larvae. That's kind of their main diet. So they're often found under rocks or in termite mounds. Very cool find, Vibrant's blind snake.